Good afternoon. Today is Monday, February 17th, 2020, and the Minnesota Senate E12 Finance and Policy Committee is now in session. It's our first hearing of the year, and so I would just encourage members to look at their agenda, and our audience members, hopefully you have an agenda as well, just to kind of set the stage. It's been a while since we've all been together. The Senate Education, Finance, and Policy Committee, as you see in the box at the top of this agenda, it's been on every agenda for the last 3 years. I just encourage you to look at that. That's what we do. It's who we are. We focus on students, fund what works. Education's the great equalizer. In a significant sense, education is the moral, racial, and economic issue of the day. We will focus state resources on providing opportunities for all Minnesota students to receive an education that prepares them for the jobs of tomorrow by using proven incentives and promising innovations that achieve better results. And today we're going to look at what are we doing so far? How are we doing with students? How is the funding related to that? And today, our first presentation, I'm glad to have our former Minnesota Supreme Court Justice Alan Page and the Minnesota Federal Reserve President Neel Kashkari, who have done some research into that very question. How are our students doing, and how is our funding tied to that? We do have a tight time schedule, members, and so I'd like to turn it over right now to the President and Chief Justice for their presentation. Welcome to the committee. If you'd kindly introduce yourself for the tape, please.
Sure. This is Neel Kashkari, President of Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis. Thank you, Chair Nelson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Alan Page.
Well, I'll start off, if it's okay, Madam Chair, with some takeaways from the report from the Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis. We have a full report that I believe you all have in front of you. It's on our website for folks in the audience or anybody else who's watching that would like to see it. I'll just go through some key takeaways, turn it over to Justice Page, and then turn it over to you, and we can go from there. So some key takeaways. Minnesota has some of the largest education achievement gaps by race, ethnicity, and socioeconomic status. It's important for everyone to know that this is not simply a Twin Cities problem. This is a statewide problem, that low-income Minnesotans are trailing their middle-class and well-to-do peers in bigger gaps than similar residents all around the country. And while Minnesota has many strengths, this achievement gaps were some of the worst in the nation. Racial and income gaps in standardized test scores have increased over time, while gaps in graduation rates have decreased. Some people will point to graduation gaps and say, look, we're making progress. African American and Hispanic students are closing the gaps in graduation to their white peers. But if you combine that, and I'll show you the data, if you combine it with tests of college readiness, we're graduating students that are not prepared for success, either in the workforce or in higher education. And that just suggests that we are graduating kids who aren't ready, and if we aren't careful, we might do more of that, so we have to be very careful. Shifting ahead, this is an achievement gap by race in fourth grade reading. So this data is national data, where all states in the country are taking the same tests to see how their kids are doing. Here are fourth grade reading scores by race and ethnicity here in Minnesota. White students compared to Asian, Hispanic, African American, and American Indian. You can see no progress for Hispanic, African American, and American Indian in closing those gaps by fourth grade relative to their white peers. Going ahead, college readiness, similarly, no progress in college readiness for the various ethnic groups. But then when people say, well, the graduation gaps are closing, it's when you put these two statistics together, more African American and Hispanic students are now graduating than 5 years ago, but this suggests that they're not ready to graduate. This is an example where we're graduating kids that aren't ready, and that's not acceptable. You know, we could graduate everybody tomorrow and pretend that we've solved the problem. We would not have accomplished anything. This chart looks at gaps in terms of statewide average fourth grade reading scores. The darker blue are higher scores, the white and lighter colors are lower scores. You can see the disparities all around the state. So it's not clustered just in the Twin Cities. These problems exist all around the state. And again, the single biggest factor is socioeconomic status. Low-income Minnesotans, low-income white Minnesotans are trailing their middle class and well-to-do peers, in addition to children of color. Some key takeaways on inputs. We are doing pretty well relative to other states in terms of funding for schools, higher on average per pupil expenditure on instruction. We've done a pretty good job of equalizing class sizes around the state, equalizing funding by district. One thing that we do see in the data is that low-income children and children of color tend to have teachers that have relatively less experience. So that's an example of a disparity in terms of inputs. So I've gone over that. And then here's the details. I mean, I just breezed through. This is a lengthy report. I just wanted to give you the highlights. With that, let me turn it over to Justice Page, and then we'll turn it over to you for questions.
Yeah,
Justice Page, welcome to the committee. Please introduce yourself for the record.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The name is Alan Page, retired Minnesota Supreme Court Justice. And thank you for having us here today. As the report indicates, we have these, what I will call unconscionable disparities in performance by children of color and economically disadvantaged students. The question is, you know, the resources that we have, how are they being used? You know, this is an issue that I've been concerned about for at least the last 30 plus years. Indeed, one of the reasons that Diane and I started the Page Education Foundation was to try to change people's views about how education can be used as a tool. And we've had some success with that, but we've had the ability to impact 7,500 roughly young men and women, plus the people who they've been able to impact through their service. But that 7,500 over the 30 plus years we've been doing that is really just a drop in the bucket to the problem that is confronting us. You know, every lost student is a lost employee. It's a customer that is lost, and indeed, it's a taxpayer that is diminished. And it's hard to think that we can continue to do what we're doing and not figure out what we can do to change the outcomes that we see. Those charts and graphs that you see up there, they're very telling. But last Monday, I was visiting a local elementary school reading, and it was the entire student body. They had them in the gym, on the gym floor. And I would say 90 to 95% of the students were students of color. And if you look at the numbers from those charts and think that the number of children that are being left behind, when you see them face to face, when you can put a face to them and hear their voices, it is truly disturbing. And actually, for our future, for the future of this state, whether we're talking about the economy, our society generally, how we interact with each other, it is frightening.
Thank you, Justice Page. Mr. Kashkari, did you have more?
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, members. And you know, that's why most of us are on this committee, I would say. Probably out of every one of us have requested to be on this education committee because we are so concerned about our future. We know that our students are our future. Our teachers touch the future. And yet, you have identified something that we have been worried about for quite some time, this very high achievement gap that we have in our state. And as you mentioned, Justice, that is not just lost students, it is parents, it is our communities, it is our employers who are all suffering when our students are not successful in their education. And this committee has been laser focused on those things. We talk about focusing on students, fund what works. And there's just about 5 pillars that we have laser focused on in this committee, which is early learning, making sure kids are ready for kindergarten when they get there. Early literacy, making sure kids are reading well by 3rd grade. And then career tech ed programs, C-Tech, P-Tech, those type of programs, which provide a wealth of different opportunities and different pathways for students. Not every student must or should we expect to go down the same educational pathway in life. And then things like dual enrollment, which has been shown to increase graduation rates, higher GPAs, more college degrees with lower student debt, particularly in our students of color. So those type of things that work, and then wrapping all of those with the new, with great innovations that we see on a daily basis, and trying to encourage those. So those are some of the things that we are focused on, and I just want to welcome you to the conversation, and thank you for bringing this forward. I noticed also that you did a look at the funding too, and we do fund our schools well, comparatively speaking, to states around us. And also I noticed your report talked about how we equalize that funding as well. The state steps in to equalize that funding when it comes to revenues and such. So I want to thank you for the conversation, and see if you had any closing comments. I know we have a few more minutes, so if you have any closing comments or if members have comments. Senator Uyghur.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the work in addressing a need not only in Minnesota but across America. And I would frame it as the opportunity gap, and wanted to see if you could also characterize the role of having housing available for students that schools can't really address totally. Or what about inadequate health care if a student has needs, mental health needs? What if a student is hungry? There are so many variables outside of school, and it's a comprehensive strategy. And so I think it's very important that in addressing the statistics that we look at some of the underlying issues that has created this gap in opportunity.
Madam Chair, Senator,
Justice Page.
I couldn't agree with you more that all of those things are issues. The problem is that we have to figure out how to meet children where they are today in order to educate them today. And until we fix those other things, we can't afford, I don't think, to continue to allow what's happening to happen. I fully appreciate that there are significant issues that don't take place within the school that affect children's performance. But the reality is that those are the kids we have to figure out how to teach.
President Kashkari.
Madam Chair, thank you. Just to add, other states are making real progress and have made real progress in closing their achievement gaps over time. And their communities have many of the same challenges our communities have. And while I agree with Justice Page and you, Senator, that all of those other factors are important too, this is not an impossible task. It takes will to make big changes as other states have made, and you can educate all children. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and President Kashkari and Justice Page, thank you for your work on this. Thank you for your passion around this issue. This is decades of work, and we haven't seen a lot of improvements in the state. So from your perspective, what is that one reform? What is that push that we need to do to close and narrow the achievement gap here in Minnesota?
Well, I know.
President Kashkari.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator, I mean, Justice Page and I have been working on a proposal to try to break through what we perceive to be political barriers, which is focusing on civil rights and making education a civil right. I know that's not the topic for this meeting or this hearing, but we do think elevating education so that it's a civil right for all Minnesota children would be a way of breaking through.
Any further questions or comments, members? Senator Uyghur.
Madam Chair, you listed a number of great ideas, things that we have rolled out and making progress. And I'd like each of the experts to address their thoughts on high-quality early education opportunity available for young people and wraparound services that could be provided at schools, where in Minnesota, for those wraparound services at schools, the achievement gap has been closed. So maybe a
Justice
leading
Page.
question, but
Madam Chair, Senator, where does one begin? I have to tell you, I was some 25 years ago, I was involved in it's 27 years ago, I was involved in an national essay contest to try to encourage and motivate children in writing and thinking and explaining why that education was important to them. And so I spent time in schools across the country, here in Minnesota, but across the country. And it always occurred to me that, we would talk about the services that children need. Why aren't we having those services in the schools to bring in parents, to not that the school itself can provide those services, but it's a physical location to house those services so that it all becomes part of the whole. Just one of the things that I've always been sort of fascinated with, never quite figured out how to make that happen, but it certainly wouldn't be the worst thing that could come out of the process.
Thank you, Justice. President Kashkari, did you have any final comments on that?
Just to add, thank you, Madam Chair, that the Minneapolis Fed has done long research on the value of early childhood education, and we stand by that research. We think it's enormously important, and I don't think it's the complete solution, but I do think that making sure that young children have access to quality, high-quality early childhood education is very, very important.
Madam Chair,
Thank you, President. Justice Page.
might I just, Madam Chair, might I just add, and to encourage those parents and family members out there of young children, spend as much time as you can reading to them and talking to them. That's something that makes a difference. I've got 4 grandchildren, and the oldest one, his mother is a second grade teacher, and she started singing and talking and reading to him before he was born. And he has an ability to think through problems and see things which I could never have thought about at his age. I'm sort of figuring it out now, but I think not all of it had to do with that early reading and speaking and all of that. But, we can all spend time in schools and classrooms with young children, kindergarten through 8th grade, pre-K. Indeed, I spend a fair amount of time doing that just for that reason.
Thank you, Justice Page. You have made the closing comments, which are so true. We know that parents are the first and most influential teachers, and as much as we can and should do here, we know that so much rests in the hands of our parents. So thank you, gentlemen. I know there'll be more discussion as things go forward. And again, thank you for coming today, and thank you for stepping into this discussion. It is needed, and I thank you for that.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda, members, we have Christy Hovance. If you could approach the testifying table. Christy, welcome. If you could introduce yourself for the record, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, members of the committee, my name is Christy Hovance. I'm from the Foundation for Excellence in Education.
If you can speak right into that mic, it's not a very hot mic.
My name is Christy Hovance. I'm with the Foundation for Excellence in Education. We are a nonprofit based out of Tallahassee, Florida, run by former Governor Jeb Bush. By way of introduction, I am a native Minnesotan, grew up, went to Park Center, graduated from the Osseo Public Schools, went to St. Cloud, still maintain my professional teaching certificate here in Minnesota. Florida was nice enough to let me cut my teeth on education policy down there. Came back after Governor Bush was term limited, but still work for his education foundation. So I appreciate the opportunity to come here to talk about the achievement gap in Minnesota. Minnesota is my home state, is very near and dear to me, and definitely want to see the state of education improving. As we heard from President Kashkari and Justice Page, achievement gaps are not defensible. I will be presenting a lot of data this afternoon, but I don't want you to take away that things are okay in Minnesota, even though some of the presentation will demonstrate that the achievement gaps might be closing or Minnesota is faring okay compared to some of its peer counterparts. We know that all children can learn. Analyzing achievement gaps is challenging. There's different things that happen with student achievement over the years and between the different subgroups that make this a very difficult study. When we talk about achievement gaps, we talk about using two different measures when we're looking at achievement gaps. We're either looking at the percent of students proficient and whether or not they're meeting grade level standards, or we're looking at a raw average scale score. And in each of these comparisons, we're comparing a group of students to another group of students, both of whose performance moves up and down over the years. So I want to start by saying there are 6 different ways you can narrow an achievement gap. Only one of them is a good way to narrow the achievement gap for all students. And the good way of narrowing an achievement gap for all students is if your comparison group goes up, but your group that's lagging behind goes up even more. All other comparisons either have students holding stagnant or student performance decreasing. So with only one way to improve or narrow the achievement gap, there are a lot of ways that achievement gap closure happens, but it's not good for all students. So we're going to talk about 2 different data sets. One of them is the Minnesota Comprehensive Assessments around their 3rd edition. You're probably very familiar with them. They're required tests by state law. You're required to test in grades 3 through 8 in high school every single year, every single student in reading and math. You'll get both whether or not a student is proficient on the state test, so are they meeting the grade level standards of mastery, and you'll also get an average scale score for each individual student, school, district, and the state. And student group. MCA results are not comparable to any other state. Each state designs their own test with their own standards, with their own items, with their own expectations of proficiency. So we can't compare our scores to Minnesota or Iowa or any other state, which is why we have to rely on the National Assessment for Educational Progress for state-to-state comparisons. States by federal law are required to participate in the National Assessment for Educational Progress if they want to receive Title I funds. You want to receive Title I funds, so states participate. This was mandated back in 2001 with the passage of No Child Left Behind. NAEP does not test every student in the state, and students do not receive scores on the NAEP. Schools do not receive scores on the NAEP, and districts don't receive scores on the NAEP. Students are tested as a sample of students every other year in order to get results for the state in general. NAEP is the only nationally comparable measure of objective student outcomes. There are no other measures, not graduation rate, not ACT, no other measures that are comparable across the country, which is why we use NAEP. It's only tested in grades 4 or 8, so those are the grades I focus on in this presentation, and only on math and reading. So there are a whole bunch of other comparisons that we can look at with MCA data, but these are the two I particularly focused on because there are national comparisons. You might want to say, well, what's the difference in performance on NAEP versus the MCAs? I'll show you in this top chart with the orange on it. MCAs are, more students tend to be proficient on your state test than they tend to be proficient on the National Assessment of Educational Progress. So there is a difference in what the expectation of rigor is for the national test than there is for the state test. Most states in the country are more aligned to the expectations with NAEP for their state test than Minnesota is. So for example, there's a 17 percentage point difference between the percent of students who are proficient on the state test versus who's proficient on the national test. So Minnesota has less rigorous expectations for students for proficiency than the national test does. However, the achievement gaps look about the same. So just because the test is harder, the gaps persist in the same way. You can see the next part of the chart shows the white-black achievement gap, showing that there are between 33 and 40 percentage points difference between the percent of students proficient on NAEP versus this percent of, or on MCA for black students compared to white students. NAEP, those are about the same. The achievement gap's a little bit smaller, mainly because it's a more rigorous assessment and your white student group isn't performing as well, and that depresses down as well. So, to start with, looking at the state test. The state test hasn't seen great results over the past 5 years. These are not the trend lines that you want to see for student performance as a whole. As you can see, math performance has gone down just over 5 percentage points, and reading performance has gone down just a slight bit. Generally, in most states, you see positive or increasing trend lines. This is not the picture that you want to see for student outcomes in your state. Likewise, we see the same trends whether you're looking at the white student group or the black student group. The green lines are the black student group, the white lines are the blue lines are the white student group. There is a definite achievement gap, but you can also see that those achievement gaps are widening in both 4th and 8th grade over the last 5 years. Same thing for reading. The achievement gaps widened a little bit in 4th grade and actually narrowed by about 1 percentage point in 8th grade. So the trends are pretty stable, a little bit going downwards, and the achievement gaps aren't improving. So to put this into perspective in numbers and understanding the numbers of this, if you're looking at the MCA tests and the percent of students proficient, you do have this large achievement gap. If you are looking at the sheer number of students that are proficient and not proficient, the task in front of us is daunting, but it's not unattainable. If we wanted to completely close the achievement gap between white and black students, we are only looking at fewer than 3,000 students, and in some cases 2,200 students, to completely close the achievement gap in each of the grade levels. So in order for the black and white achievement gap to be completely closed, we'd need 2,917 more students in 4th grade to become proficient reader or proficient at math, and we need 2,553 more black 8th graders to become proficient in math, and you would have successfully closed your achievement gap. But my question is that good enough for Minnesota? I mean, you still will have a bunch of kids who are not proficient, at least a quarter to a third of those students not proficient, and there are not proficient students across the spectrum. So talking a little bit about achievement gaps and looking at the MCA achievement gap in reading, good news, right? That Minnesota closed the achievement gap by 5.7 percentage points since 2015. But if you look at how that achievement gap closed, it wasn't a good thing. Yes, black performance did go up by a percentage point, which is fantastic, but most of that closure was a result of white student performance going down by almost 5 percentage points. So in this case, it's probably not a good path to continue going down, even though it would successfully close your achievement gap. Black students aren't performing very quickly or improving performance very quickly, and white students are falling behind. Here's another scenario of looking at achievement gaps. State 1 has an achievement gap of 31 points on the 4th grade national test. State 2 has an achievement gap of 14 points on the state or the national math test. Which state would you rather be in? State with a 31-point gap or state with a 14-point gap? Well, I think that really depends on how well the state is performing. So Minnesota's that first state. We have an awful achievement gap. It's 31 percentage points in the gap. The comparison state is West Virginia. They only have a 14-point gap between their black and white student performance. However, it's important to know that West Virginia has the worst performing white student group in the country on 4th grade math. So if you're comparing it and looking at it in context, Minnesota is definitely a terrible gap, but black students in Minnesota are 8 points ahead of West Virginia students, which is the comparison. And black students in Minnesota outperform 36 other states and Washington, D.C. So there is a gap. It's not acceptable, but looking at it in context of how well students are performing relative to their peers gives a little bit different picture on which states you should be looking to for best practice and best policy. Probably wouldn't go to West Virginia to look for policy solutions. Also just wanted to highlight some trends with the National Assessment for Educational Progress. We started with the MCAs and demonstrating that those results were starting to trend downwards. We're seeing the same downward trends in math on the national test. Over the last 6 years, we've seen some definite decreases across the board, not just in the scale scores that are being achieved, but also the percent of students that are proficient moving forward. We see the same types of trends in reading. Context for some other state comparisons. Because there are ways of good gap closure and bad gap closure, we wanted to look at some states that really demonstrated how well students were doing in other states that didn't have as big of achievement gaps and also had a very high ranking for their student subgroups. So the state of Florida and the state of Mississippi are two unlikely contenders that you would probably look at for education reform. You look at them in a lot of national rankings from the past and you think, oh, they're southern states, they're probably not that high performing. But when you look at how well their students are performing in the Black subgroup, Hispanic subgroup, and free and reduced price lunch subgroup, you actually see that those states are far outperforming their peers across the country. So Florida ranks second for Black student performance in 4th grade math, second for Hispanic student performance in 4th grade math, and first for low-income student performance in 4th grade math. Mississippi's kind of right up there on the same trend, 5th for Black students, 1st for Hispanic students, and 2nd for free and reduced price lunch students. So if you're looking at looking for strategies or policy solutions, looking towards states that have some of the highest performing subgroup performance rather than looking at overall scores is probably a better direction to look. You'll also notice that in Florida and Mississippi, they spend less per student than what is provided in Minnesota. And they also have populations that are less white and have more need for income, higher percentages of free and reduced price lunch. In Minnesota, it's 38% free and reduced price lunch, according to the National Center for Education Statistics, which normalized this data, compared to 75% in Mississippi or even 58% in Florida. So definitely challenging populations. And then you'll notice, too, in Florida, far more students to have to be impacted compared to Minnesota. So we're dealing with a smaller number of students that are important as far as being able to provide one-on-one support or provide additional resources for those students. This next set of slides was prepared by the Urban Institute, and I will never use these slides in a southern state, but I felt like they would be a good representation here. I don't use them in Mississippi, where I have been working for the last 9 years, and I don't use them in Florida, where I cut my teeth on education policy, because all it does is provide them excuses for why they don't have to continue with education reform. What these slides show you is on the left-hand side, it shows the actual score for NAEP 4th grade math and the rank order for how well each of these states performed. So Minnesota's #1 when you look at them for math performance. On the right-hand side, you will see how that state, if adjusted for race, so if all states had the same racial composition, would perform compared to another state with the same racial composition. So Minnesota drops in the rankings, and you can see Mississippi moves up in the rankings to #4, and Florida takes over the #1 spot. And that's all based on the differences in racial composition and free and reduced price lunch composition. So Minnesota, because of its demographic makeup, tends to look really good on national rankings because we have a majority of students who are white and higher income than a lot of these other states. Math, this is adjusted for income. So instead of adjusting for race, adjusting for income, you can see Minnesota's #1 on the right. Minnesota fares a little bit better, only dropping to #4 on the right, on my left, your right, on the right. And so you can see reading, similar story. Minnesota isn't as strong in reading. They definitely lag behind. Their math performance is stellar across the board for most racial, ethnic subgroups, as well as overall. Reading is not as high performing in Minnesota. You can see in Minnesota, they're ranked about 10th unadjusted, and when you adjust for race, they drop down to middle or right below the national average. When you adjust for income, they also drop pretty substantially. So just a different context on looking at achievement gaps, and they seem very simple when you're just comparing one group to another, but there are so many moving parts. So performance year over year, and it's performance of two groups going up or down. So just important things to consider, and then also state context of looking at what the composition of the state is and the context of what those numbers actually look like. So willing to entertain questions, Chair Nelson.
Thank you. That's a lot of data to look at, but I do appreciate that. Are there comments or questions, members? Senator Clausen.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for that presentation. I'm curious, when you look at the grade 4 reading, did you look at curriculum at all? Whole language versus phonetics versus, for those various states?
Ms. Christie.
Chair Nelson, Senator Clausen, that's a fantastic question. We do not look at specific curriculum, but what I can tell you is most states that I work in, including Florida and Mississippi, for which you saw results, have a state adoption list. And so those state adopted materials are aligned with scientifically based reading research and follow the principles of instruction and assessment. So they don't prescribe which curriculum a district has to select, but they will require the district to select from among 5 to 10 different curriculum series that are aligned to state standards using scientifically based reading instruction methods.
Thank you. That's an important distinction. I'm very glad you asked that question. Our next hearing, we're going to try and look at how is it that schools are beating the odds and try and overlay. It would be interesting to overlay how those particular scientific structured reading programs overlay with the reading achievement. So thank you for that question. Any further questions? Ms. Havens, do you have data that actually is an overlay? So you kind of told us about those two states, Florida and Mississippi, how they have a band within which districts can choose type of reading curriculum. Do you have anything similar as far as math, for example? Ms. Hovath?
Chair Nelson, yes, most of the states we work in do have overlays. We don't have an overlay analysis based on which math curriculum, but definitely on which reading philosophy or which math adoption cycle and materials that they used. And so, yes, those states also adopt selected materials for math and anything else for which the state is providing an instructional materials allocation, that the district is to select at least one of the state adopted materials for reading, math, science, and social studies, or what they consider the 4 core subjects. So making sure that the materials are aligned and that there is professional development to go with them to support those materials, and that they support the philosophy of the state education practice.
And Ms. Hovath, then is it, so that's typically what you have seen is the increase in achievement within those school districts or those states that have adopted this very structured approach to both curriculum and the professional development that goes with that.
Chair Nelson, I can speak specifically to Mississippi and Florida, but yes, we have seen it in a multitude of other states. One of the foundation's core policies is early literacy and K-3 reading. I've been working in Mississippi for the last 9 years and been working in Florida forever, and it is very grounded in the initial reading first legislation that passed just before reading No Child Left Behind did in 2000. And states were given grants to implement scientifically based reading instruction. Most of these states received a grant, including Minnesota, used it to adopt materials, train teachers, hire reading coaches, identify appropriate assessments, screenings, diagnostics, progress monitoring tools, building the data systems to use that information to train teachers. And so the grant or the state funding grants were 6 years long. In Florida, I got to oversee the $300 million Reading First grant, and what we did is we institutionalized those practices using a declining fund balance for the districts. So they got 100% allocation the first year, 90, 80, 50, and like 30 in order to institutionalize these practices. So now just about every single school in the state of Florida, and many of them in Mississippi, have reading coaches or literacy coaches that work directly with the teachers, because if you teach the teachers how to do something better, you're impacting a whole bunch of students rather than just a literacy coach that works with a small or select group of students. Adopted materials, training on tests, training on curriculum, and as well as practices. And most of the scientifically based reading practices aren't grounded in a specific curriculum. It's an instructional strategy that's used, not a particular set of curriculum that is used through in the classroom.
Thank you, thank you. Members, Senator Uyghur.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Dr. Havanetz. And we don't know why you'd want to leave beautiful Minnesota, but it's good to have you back. Okay. One key predictor for third, fourth grade proficiency or graduating on time and being college career ready is being ready for K. So do you have data on those states that actually measure ready for K and that correlation, guidance for us on that as we don't define it? And then specifically, Florida has a constitutional amendment that Jeb Bush led, giving you a right, I believe, for early ed, or provided the framework for having early ed opportunities or something for 4-year-olds. So if you could comment on the early ed part and how that is a part of addressing the opportunity gap.
Dr. Hovance.
Senator Nelson, Senator Uyghur. Yes, there is a very specific set of policies that go around early learning and readiness for pre-kindergarten. Florida actually has a very robust accountability for their voluntary pre-kindergarten system. This system was implemented by voters through a constitutional amendment. The first piece of legislation that came through under that was vetoed, as it was not not in the best interest of students. Currently, the program in Florida allows for up to 3 hours of VPK. Students are required to be kindergarten ready, so providers have to get an accountability rating from the state about what percentage of kids were kindergarten ready, and providers at the bottom of the list, which included public, private, secular, non-secular, across the board, were no longer allowed to accept the voucher from the state of Florida for pre-kindergarten services. We are this year, you're talking about the major Florida legislative agenda item, which is to revise the accountability for pre-K to include a pre-test and a post-test, including the kindergarten readiness screener, and having a more transparent reporting system about VPK. But it does start with early learning, but that early learning is only as good as your early learning program and your early learning providers. So making sure that that too is grounded in scientifically based reading research, and then making sure not just that is, but then you continue that through third grade, because a lot of what we find is services that kids receive in pre-K have a dwindling effect by the time they reach third grade, because the intervening years, they didn't get a lot of good services.
Any further questions? Senator Torres-Ray.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question related to kind of the demographics of the states that are in your presentation. So you have clearly a couple of states where there is a significant difference. The majority of the students by far are African American, Latino in both states, and then 67% of children here are white. So when you talk about looking at curriculum and teachers and in general instructional strategies, do you have information or studies related to the impact of that teaching infrastructure that goes into teaching children that are in classrooms where the majority are minority versus what we have in Minnesota, and the significance of that? Because I think part of what we're trying to understand in Minnesota, we have high academic performance in general, like you said at the beginning, but we have a predominantly white classroom with respect to students and faculty. And that is also, there is a lot of segregation in Minnesota, where you have significant number of schools where we have majority minority, but we have schools where we have no minorities. Could you speak to that issue?
Dr. Hovance, I am watching the clock. I know you have, I think, a flight that you have to catch. So if you cannot address that, you're welcome to send the comments to me, and I'll make sure they get to all members. And if Senator Clausen doesn't have an opportunity to ask his question, we'll make sure and get that to you. So feel free to excuse yourself when the time requires. Dr. Hovance.
Chair Nelson, thank you. I will excuse myself. I have about 10 minutes before.
Okay, Dr. Hovance.
Senator Torres-Ray, that's a really good question. I don't have research that looks at the class composition versus the instructional leader within those particular classes and how they do with one group of teachers compared to another group of teachers. So I don't think I can appropriately answer your question, but I do want to dig a little bit further into what you're asking to see if we can provide some of the information that you're looking for. What I do know is that expectations for students in a lot of schools that I visit in the South seem to be different than expectations in some of the schools that I visited up here in Minnesota. So setting high expectations for students and really believing that those students can learn and do have the opportunity to learn makes a big difference. Both Mississippi and Florida have really robust learning gains models in their school grading calculations. And you can see that when you are looking at learning gains compared to just pure achievement, learning gains models are very rigorous, expecting more than a year's growth in a year's worth of time. And students who come from economically disadvantaged backgrounds and students of color, there's not as big of a correlation between whether students are making learning gains and their outcomes for their demographics. So there's definitely something to say that students can learn, they are learning, and the expectations are high and need to remain high. But I do want to make sure I fully understand what you're asking with the composition of classrooms and see if we can pull something together for you. So I'll work with Chair Nelson to get that.
Thank you. Senator Clausen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Do you have any correlating data regarding per pupil funding and those scores, especially in the early childhood in grades 1 through 3?
Dr. Hovans.
Chair Nelson, Senator Clausen, I don't have anything specific for grades 1 through 3, but that's a fantastic question, and I'm glad you asked. We'll direct your attention to the screen. This is a research study done in an Education Next publication based on the National Center for Education Statistics and the NAEP data. And basically it says that additional per pupil funding does not affect the improvement in performance in states. So you can see the chart has the lowest per pupil expenditure at $5,000 on the left-hand side, the highest at $23,000 on the right-hand side. The more improvement is at the top of the chart and the less improvement is at the bottom chart. So you want to be in the upper left-hand quadrant to demonstrate that your return on investment is greater in those states than schools in the bottom right-hand quadrant where return on investment is pretty low. So you can see Alaska, Rhode Island, Maine, New York don't have a very good return for student outcomes on their investment dollar, but states like Florida, Georgia, Indiana, North Carolina have good returns on investment for every education dollar spent.
Thank you, Dr. Hovans. Are there any further questions? Thank you for the information, for the data, and we'll be moving next here to Ms. Hofer is going to talk a little bit about our fiscal, what are we doing in Minnesota regarding, thank you, regarding funding, and if you could come to the table, that'd be great. A lot of good questions today as we wrestle with this important issue regarding a great education for all of our students. Welcome, Ms. Hofer. And I also want to introduce Betsy. Say your last name for me, please.
Madam Chair, Jelseth.
Say it again.
Jelseth.
Jelsa. We are glad to have Betsy Jelsa in our fiscal staff as well. And for someone who is a phonetic person, that is a challenge to see that. So welcome, Ms. Hofer.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. Again, my name is Jenna Hofer. I am the E12 fiscal analyst for the committee. Before you in your packets, you should have a spreadsheet, and I just want to introduce it to you real quick. It should look familiar from prior sessions, but it's a good resource for you throughout the year here as we are looking at the K-12 budget. So the spreadsheet, members, should be in color in your packet. It should be yellow and white. And then in the upper left-hand corner, it should be the General Fund Aid Appropriations Summary. So as I mentioned, this should look familiar to you from prior sessions. Going down the left-hand side, indicated by line numbers, you'll see each of the appropriations within the E12 education budget. Going across all of the columns, the first, maybe third or so of the page is the end of session appropriations that were a result of the 2019 laws. The next 2/3 of the page, you're going to see the November forecast. So this shows the appropriations updated based on the November forecast. So this would include things like changes in certain cost or forecasted pupil units. And so the shaded yellow columns will show you the difference between the biennium for the November forecast and the end of session appropriations. So we'll discuss this in more detail throughout the presentation, but just wanted to let you know that's in your packet. So if there's a specific appropriation you want to reference at any point, it's there for you to look at. And I'll have Ms. Jelseth go through the other spreadsheet in your packet.
Ms. Jelseth, welcome to the committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next, we're going to look at the If you look on the top left, it's another spreadsheet. It's titled Overview of Select Per Pupil Revenues and Academic Achievement Indicators. It's time-stamped from February 15th in the bottom right-hand corner. I think you're familiar with this too, but the district number is in column A. Column B is the district name. Column C shows pupil units, adjusted pupil units, and all the revenues are for fiscal year 2020. Columns D through I are general education revenues. Columns J through L are categorical education revenues. And then columns M through Q are some of the academic achievement indicators that are listed in the World's Best Workforce and the Every Student Succeeds Act. And then on each page, you'll see row A, which is a state total. So if you wanted to do a comparison between a specific district and the state, it's easy for you to look at.
Ms. Hofer.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. And with those resources, we'll now move on to the presentation to talk about some of the funding within the E12 budget and how it compares year over year and to other states and the nation.
So with this presentation, we're going to go over the roles of the nonpartisan staff, talk about the 2019 November forecast, look at revenue trends, and then finally take a look at how Minnesota compares to other states with revenue. So the Senate Council Research and Fiscal Analysis Office is a nonpartisan office which provides confidential services to all members of the Senate. We draft bills and amendments, track the budget, interpret fiscal notes, and analyze how proposals affect spending, revenue, and policy. We have 3 staff members on the E12 committee. Ms. Lewis is the counsel for the committee. She provides the legal expertise. Ms. Hofer is the fiscal analyst for the committee. She tracks the budget and interprets the fiscal notes. And I am the analyst for the committee, and I model the E12 general education revenues. Next, Ms. Hofer is going to go over the state general fund forecast.
Ms. Hofer.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members. So beginning on page 4, we have a look at the November forecast for E12 education. So this looks at general fund spending, as it is the fund that this committee spends the most time looking at. And so this shows the budget for the 2021 biennium, and it shows that the base budget for the E12 Education Committee is about $48.5 billion. Or I apologize, that is the state general fund budget for the 2021 biennium.
You're picking us all up off the floor.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Ms. Hofer.
So of that $48.5 billion, the E12 education budget jurisdiction has about 41.5%, so it's the largest general fund budget area. The second largest would be the Health and Human Services budget area at about 30.3%, and then the rest of the budget jurisdictions make up the final approximately 30%. And so looking at the E12 education budget from an all funds perspective, it's about $22.1 billion for the 2021 biennium. That's about 25.4% of the state all funds budget. The E12 budget is the second largest when it looks at all funds. The Health and Human Services would be the largest, and that's about 43% of state all funds. The vast majority of the E12 budget is going to be, again, general fund dollars. It's about 91.7%. or about $20.1 billion. The next largest chunk of the E12 budget from an all funds perspective is the federal funds at about 7.8%. It's about $1.7 billion. This is primarily special education, title funding, school nutrition, and some federal grants as well. This next slide shows the local property tax budget for education. This chunk of funding was not included on the last slide, as these funds do not pass through the state coffers. So these would be collected at the local county levels for school districts. So it's about $6.3 billion of certified levies over the 2021 biennium, and this is adjusted for any credits, which would be like the school building bond ag credit. The vast majority of education levies go to a district's general fund, so these would be things like the referendum, alternative compensation levy, operating capital, and then you have debt service as the next largest portion. And so these would be for school building projects. And then you have smaller amounts for community service programs, such as ECFE and community service. And then the pension debt service fund is the smallest of those. We're going to turn back again to Education General Fund expenditures. So this slide here shows a breakdown of how the E12 budget funds different appropriations. And so the order on the right-hand side should match pretty closely with that state aid tracker that I pointed out at the very beginning here. So if you're looking for a specific appropriation within those categories, you should be able to find it in greater detail on that spreadsheet. But the largest chunk of the E12 budget goes to the general education aid. It's about $14.9 billion, or about 75% of the budget. The next largest chunk is special education, which is about 16.8%. And so this would be about $3.4 billion over the 2021 biennium. Some other large categories are education excellence and teachers. So this is where a lot of the grant programs are. You'll also see some of the larger aid appropriations, such as literacy incentive aid, achievement and integration, alternative teacher compensation in that category as well. In the facilities and safety and technology category, that's where you'll see things like long-term facilities maintenance. You'll also see the telecom communications access aid, as well as the one-time funding in fiscal year 2020 for Safe Schools revenue. That $30 million is in there as well. Some of the smaller areas here, you'll see the nutrition programs, so those would be school lunch and breakfast aids, library programs, that would be like the regional libraries aid. In early education, you'll see programs like the Early Learning Scholarships, ECFE, as well as the kindergarten readiness assessment dollars. And then in the community education line and lifelong learning, those would be programs like adult basic education and community education. And finally, the last line is the state agencies, which is about $105 million for the 2021 biennium. So in total, you get to about $20.1 billion. And we're going to dive now into the largest portion of that, the general education aid. On the spreadsheet, you'll see this as one line, but there's actually a number of formulas that make up the general education aid entitlement. And so the vast majority is a formula that you all are probably quite familiar with, the basic formula allowance. So this is about 83.4% of the general education aid entitlement for the 2021 biennium. So it's about $12 billion. The next chunk would be the compensatory aids. And so that would be based on the number of free and reduced price lunch students district has. And then you can see that there's a number of other funding formulas that go into the general education aid entitlement, everything from operating capital to referendum, extended time revenue to sparsity and equity revenue as well. But in total, it's about $14.6 billion for the 2021 biennium. Turning now to education funding over the bienniums. So this chart here displays forecasted general fund spending for the E12 education budget for 3 bienniums. So the most recent previous biennium, the fiscal year 18-19 biennium, at about $18.8 billion. In the fiscal 2021 biennium, you can see that funding has grown by about 6.8% to about $20.1 billion. This is an increase of $1.28 billion over the prior biennium. And then the final column shows the estimated budget for the 22-23 biennium. That would be about $20.9 billion, or about 4.4% increase over the 2021 biennium. So as you can see, education funding is projected to increase. In large part, this is due to increasing pupil counts and special education expenditures. So the next two slides here will look at per pupil revenue and state aid and how they've changed each year. This slide may be familiar to the committee. I believe it was discussed last year during the conference committees. So what this slide does is it has two lines. So the top line shows total revenue per pupil, so that would be both aid and levy. And it shows how it's increased from 2003 to 2021. The second line, the green line, shows that total per pupil revenue adjusted using the Consumer Price Index. And so as you can see, that amount has also grown, though it hasn't grown quite as much as the non-inflation adjusted total revenue per pupil. But you can see from here that as both lines are above 0%, that shows that for fiscal year 2021, it's estimated that total revenue per pupil will have increased compared to inflation.
So,
And here is
Ms.
the-
Hofer, just to clarify then, we're looking at these two lines. So from 2003 until 2021 estimate, it would appear that our adjusted our growth, even as adjusted for CPI, is 27.1%. Growth, even as adjusted with CPI.
Madam Chair, that is correct. And that 27.1% is compared to fiscal year 2003. So that's the base year that it's comparing to. So it's not comparing year over year. So
Yes.
it wouldn't be 27.1% compared to fiscal year 2020, but compared to 2003.
And that is per student.
Correct, Madam.
And if we were not looking at inflation-adjusted growth, we would just say it grew by 74.8% per student, but that would not take into account inflation.
Madam Chair, that is correct.
Okay. Just,
Yes.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yes, and there are two at the very bottom of this slide and the next slide, references for those total per pupil amounts. This chart shows the revenue, and then the next one will show the aid per pupil. So here you can see that aid per pupil has fluctuated a little bit more. So this slide would remove the component of local levy. So this is just state aid dollars, not the local component. And so you can see that when not adjusting for inflation, state aid per pupil has increased 56.7% compared to 2003, if you're looking at fiscal year 2021. And then if you're looking at the green line, that shows the state aid per pupil as adjusted by CPI. And so you can see here that there's been a little bit more variation over the years compared to total revenue. So you can see that actually through about 2014 here, that the state aid per pupil would have been less than the base year of 2003 when adjusted for inflation. And then beginning in fiscal year 2015, that does increase year over year. So if you're comparing fiscal year 2015 and later to the base year of 2003, it would be an increase in state aid per pupil.
Thank you, Ms. Hofer.
And in the final portion here, we were asked to discuss how Minnesota funding compares to other states and the nation. So the next couple slides here use data from the U.S. Census Bureau for fiscal year 2017, as that's the most recent year available from this particular data source for all states. And so this chart here shows a couple of different things. So it's showing that total revenue by source per pupil. The very top bar shows the U.S. average, so that'd be about $14,273 per pupil. And then you can see that they're arranged from most revenue per pupil to least revenue per pupil. And so this is revenue from all sources, so this would be federal, state, and local. And those different components are indicated with different colors. So the blue portion of the bars are federal revenues. And so that's the first chunk of each different state's revenue. The middle would be the state revenue. And again, this would be both aid and levy dollars. Or I'm sorry, just the aid dollars. And the green chunk there is the levy dollars. And so you can see that if you're looking at different states, the amount of federal, state, and local revenue that makes up a state's total revenue varies considerably depending on the jurisdiction that you're looking at. When looking at total revenue per pupil for fiscal year 2017, Minnesota ranks 18th among the 50 states and DC. And so I have indicated with the bolded number kind of right down there that you can see Minnesota's is $15,193 per student. I also have included amounts for all of the bordering states, so that would be North Dakota, South Dakota, Iowa, and Wisconsin. So you can see that only North Dakota exceeds Minnesota for total revenue per pupil, and then the other three bordering states have less revenue per pupil than Minnesota. So the next slide here shows just the federal revenue, so it would be that first blue component of the last chart. This has rearranged the states to go from most to least. The orange line drops down, and that shows the U.S. average of $1,137 per pupil. And so anything past the orange bar just to the right is going to be exceeding the U.S. average. Anything less is less than the U.S. average. So you can see up here that Washington, D.C. has the most federal revenue per pupil, and Minnesota actually ranks 49th out of 51 for revenue per pupil at $798. And all of the bordering states do receive more in federal revenue per pupil than Minnesota does. You can see Iowa and Wisconsin are at $938 per pupil. And then up towards the top, it would be in 5th and 7th. You can see North Dakota and South Dakota at about $1,400 per student.
Ms. Hofer, before you leave that slide, just a quick question. It's understandable why DC has so much federal since they don't have that state aid. But I'm curious why Minnesota is, 49th in the nation for federal aid on a per pupil basis. Do you have any insight on that, Ms. Hofer?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And while I can't speak to every state's situation individually, a large component of federal revenue is based on poverty levels within the states. So things like free and reduced price lunch students. And so as a result, you can see that Minnesota would be higher if you look at, I don't have a chart in here, but there are charts from this particular source that do show that Minnesota has, compared to many of the other states, a higher income per pupil statewide. And so that's what would drive some of this. It's not all of it, but it's a large part of it.
Thank you. It'd be interesting to know particularly about our neighbors, the four that you've highlighted there, North Dakota, South Dakota, Wisconsin, and I can't see the other one. But thank you. Thank you. We'll get that information.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next slide here on page 14 shows state revenue per pupil. And so on this chart, again, it's arranged similarly to the last one, where states are ordered based on the total amount of state revenue per pupil, with the highest at the top and the lowest at the bottom. And again, the orange line shows the U.S. average of $6,726 per pupil. One thing to note here is that D.C., while at the top of the last chart, does not have any state revenue per pupil, so that line is blank for them. But Vermont is up at the top for the most state revenue per pupil. And Minnesota is 7th in the nation, and DC for state revenue per pupil at about $9,865. And so this would be higher than any of the neighboring states, North Dakota, Iowa, Wisconsin, and South Dakota. And finally, here you can see the local revenue per pupil, again, arranged similarly to the previous slides. Local revenue per pupil for the U.S. average is $6,410 per student. DC is up at the top, Hawaii is last, and Minnesota falls in the bottom half at 32nd in the nation at $4,530 per student. So all of the neighboring states would have higher local revenue per pupil than Minnesota. And so with that, Madam Chair and committee members, we thank you for your time, and we're glad to answer any questions either now or via email or after the committee hearing. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I think this was a terrific review. The charts were easy to read and understand, and you seem to capture many of the questions that we usually have and that we may be talking about as session continues, so thank you. Members, any comments or questions? Senator Kent.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And again, I want to share the compliments on the good work that has been done in providing this information. I was just wondering, looking at slides 10 and 11 on the inflation charts, would it be possible in your spare time, no rush, to come back with just the straight CPI line on the same timeline so that we could see a comparison there?
Certainly, Madam Chair and Senator Kent, I do have that information available. All of this is actually in a Department of Education Excel file, so I'd be happy to share that with the committee as well as a chart that shows the CPI line too.
Great, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. That'd be good information for the committee. So, Senator Uyghur.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, and great job. Wondering if you've compared your data with runs that may have been done by the other body for nonpartisan House research. Sometimes in conference we'll see different data, but this, I don't know if there's any variation in interpretation. But is there your counterparts in the House? Have you talked to them regarding similar type of runs on national trends, state, local?
Ms. Hofer.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Senator Uyghur, for the question. You're speaking specifically about the national trend data?
Senator Uyghur.
Actually, all the charts.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair
Hofer.
and Senator Uyghur. So for all of the charts in this presentation, a lot of them would be similar across the other body. So these first couple from the November forecast, all of that comes from Minnesota Management and Budget. The two slides here on per pupil revenue and state aid for Minnesota, I have seen other variations of these charts that use a different measure of inflation, the implicit price deflator. So that's another chart that's been used. For this one in particular, CPI was chosen because it is the only inflation index mentioned within the E12 education statutes. Referendum revenue is keyed off of it, and it's one of the more common ones that we use at the state level. But the implicit price deflator is also another measure of inflation that could be used. And I have seen House research documents that do use that as well. And then for the national revenue comparisons here, I'm not sure if my colleagues over in House Research have looked at this type of data or not, but it's certainly easily accessible at the U.S. Census Bureau. And this just uses the data that they provided and makes charts out of them. So it's easy enough for them to do the same thing. The state aid tracker should be identical to the one that you see in House Research. And I can let Ms. Jelseth speak to the chart that she distributed.
Ms. Jelseth.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Senator Uyghur. A lot of what I had in the overview of select per pupil revenues and academic achievement indicators matched up with what House Research did with the general education revenues. I was able to see that run, and my numbers matched what my colleagues over there had.
Thank you. Senator Uyghur.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and just everybody working together is a good thing. So
It is a good thing. Any other, Senator Torres-Ray.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I also want to say thank you for this. This is excellent, and this is my 13th year, and this is the best year we have something that is so simple and of something that is so complex, and you put together and the numbers in a very good way for me. So thank you. Madam Chair, I'm just delighted that this information is being organized this way. And I'm curious, this is, in one of these charts, we see education and education excellence and teachers at $738 million. And as you know, I'm very passionate about this area and want to look for revenue to really help teachers, get the skills that they need. But we are spending $738 million already. I didn't know that. So I am interested in figuring out more about these measures that we have in place and how do we use this funding? What are we getting out of it? I am also impressed with the revenue for early childhood education. When we started this process, there was very little money in early childhood education. We are at 344 with a projection to have a lot more there. So I would like to ask that we continue to move in the direction of understanding better how these dollars are being used at the local level, because I think that really helps us understand where are the gaps and how do we continue to look for funding to really meet the needs that are there. So thank you for this, and I hope that we can get into that. This is very helpful. It helps us understand the big picture and then dig into the detail of
Thank
what
you,
we have.
Senator Torres. I have to second your notice that this is the clearest financial review that I have seen, and I've been here, I think this is my 10th year in the Senate here, so I just thank you for that. And also, Senator Torres, you are so right. We talked earlier about how parents are the first and most influential teachers, but we know that the teacher in school is the most correlated with student achievement. So having our teachers, our excellence in teachers is so important in making sure they have the training and the development that's needed. And we will continue with this discussion. In fact, next week, we will be looking at those schools that have beat the odds. Now, we don't know exactly what they're going to say, those 10 or 12 schools, but we're going to see if there are any commonalities in what they tell us and how they achieved over and above what their similarly liked peers would do. And also look for, we will be looking particularly at that education piece regarding structured scientific-based reading as well for our teachers. So that's on the docket as well. So thank you. Seeing no further questions, this meeting is adjourned. We will reconvene on Wednesday, February 19th. Thank you.